From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Deal with this.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Miami Week mailbag. But the Virginia game still on a lot of folks' minds. We do a final flush as folks vent about the defense. Should FSU stop scheduling tough in their out-of-conference? And we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Wake Up Warchant is presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Add whatever you want to your cart. Get the Variety Pack. Get the Immune Plus. Get the Focus Plus. Get the Mood Plus. Get the Workout Plus. Whatever you want. Throw it in your cart. Put in the promo code warchantbogo. Buy one, get one free. They'll match you for free. Vitamin Energy, synergistically formulated to deliver not only the vitamins and the nutrients to do things like improve your mood, improve your focus, improve the energy level you have in the gym, the pump, things like that, but also, obviously, the energy to power you throughout your day. You folks are doing the real work. Corey and I just get to hang out and talk about kids' games. So we empathize with you. Try Vitamin Energy. Tastes great. Clinically tested, clinically proven. And the BOGO code, warchantbogo. Buy one, get one free. Noles behind the operation as well over at Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. If you're a student, come on. Come on. Hopefully you have a ticket to this Miami game. I know a lot of people got left out in the cold, Corey, students and adults. But if you're a student, email us from your fsu.edu email address. Email support@warchant.com. We'll hook you up with a free membership for an entire year across the On3 network. So you can check out what they're talking about on Kane Sport. You can drink the Gator Tears over at Inside the Gators. It's great. Totally free. Won't ask you for your credit card, nothing like that. Just email support@warchant.com from your fsu.edu email address. Corey Clark here, fresh off of transcribing Mike Norvell on Monday, giving us a story for our subscribers over at warchant.com, and just being an all-around swell human being. Great husband, great father, and a great podcaster, and a great writer, obviously. How are you, Corey?
I'm not sure I'm any of those four things, but I try to do them all to the best of my ability, but I wouldn't say I succeed at any of them greatly. I'm doing great, buddy. How are you doing? You doing all right? I'm back in Tallahassee. It feels good. I feel like I've been gone for a week. It feels good to be back in the 850.
Yeah, it feels good, man. Yesterday morning, like letting the dog out, it was like, ooh, what's that I feel in the air? Is that what they call autumn? Maybe flirting. So hopefully we get some of this milder weather coming back our way. But yeah, excited, man. It's Miami week. It's the mailbag show, but we got a lot of Virginia stuff still on people's minds, which I guess makes sense. Yeah. Maybe we should do like a 48-hour rule when it comes to the podcast. We'll go too deep into the week talking about it. But I guess before we jump into the Renegade Express mailbag and give out our last monthly winner for this month of September in the generating discussion sparked by Cummins, we did get to speak to Mike for like 20 minutes on Monday. What were your big takeaways? I'm disappointed myself because he used a very strong word. I can't remember the last time I heard Norvell describe anything that he saw from his team as being unacceptable. I should have probably followed up and been like, well, like what was? Like specifically, what do you see that was unacceptable? But clearly he communicated that they were hurt by that loss. They have the right kind of, response so far that he's seen. But obviously that was a team that, went to Virginia trying to win that darn game, thought they were going to win that game, did everything they pretty much could to win the game, but still fell a play or two short. Takeaways from Mike Norvell at the podium on Monday from you, Corey.
Yeah, it wasn't much different than I thought how he was Friday night after the game. I do think it's telling, though, that Norvell, Malzahn, and Tony White all brought up the response and the fight that they showed. And look, you don't get to sit and take bows because you played hard and you didn't give up. You're not supposed to give up. Like, these kids are paid money now. They're on a good football team. They're playing for something. Just because you get down 2 scores doesn't mean it's like, we'll get them next week. That would be a crazy attitude to have. But since we all just lived through it, I know Tony White and Malzahn didn't, but Norvell did. He saw plenty of give up last year. I think I keep coming back to that. Like, I think they're trying to preach to these players. Like, look, you played, number one, you did play a good offense. I think we got to keep hammering that home, especially at home. Like, Virginia at home is going to be a tough out, I think, for a lot of teams. Because Obviously, it's easier to play offense at home than on the road. That kid is a pretty dynamic quarterback when he's not throwing it to DBs. That running back's really good. They got some wide receivers. They're all old as Hades. It's a good offense, and it's a problem. It's going to be a problem for anybody they play in Charlottesville. So I think they wanted to stress, number one, look, it wasn't a horrible loss because Virginia's a pretty good team. And the fact that they got down 14-0, and they were down by 7 with 2 minutes to go, and they fought back each time to tie the game, well, in the first half, take the lead. I think they were kind of buoyed by that. And I think they want to make sure their players, and fans maybe for that matter, understand, like, hey, don't take for granted that this team showed some fight and some heart and some response. Because moving forward as we go throughout this season, that's going to be important. Other than that, though, I don't know. I thought it was – I don't know. He's probably never going to sell Tommy. He's never going to throw Tommy under the bus and sell him out. His answer to Ira's question about the interception at the 5 – it just doesn't jive with what you see in the film. Like, even if he makes that throw, it's not a walk-in touchdown. It looks to me like there's 2 defenders on one guy out in the flat. Now, so you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't worth the risk of the throw.
And that was a similar situation to what he saw the week before at Kent State and threw a pick.
But I thought he said it was different. I thought he said it was a different kind of play.
I was just trying to give clarification. Sorry.
Oh, yes, yeah. The one where he pulls it out and kind of throws it sidearm.
Yeah.
Now, look, you do have to give credit to the player. He made a great play, just much like the Kent State guy did. Those are great plays, but your quarterback's giving him the chance to make a great play because he's making what I think is a bad decision. But over the course of a football game, they had 82 plays, man. 84, something like that. I feel like Tommy is making a decision. I don't know how many are RPOs, but I would at least guess 2/3 of them, right? So he's having to make a decision on 60 to 65 plays a game. He's going to make some wrong ones. It's just, again, I know I said this yesterday, but Norvell kind of defending that, I understand. You wouldn't want to say, yeah, he's got to be better there. You're trying to keep his confidence up, not that he needs much help keeping his confidence up. But he needs to have a little more game awareness right there. Like it's 1st and 5. It's not third and goal. Even if that is not an open play, that is not a walk-in touchdown. Pull it and run, or don't pull it and let the running back go try to score. Also, let Keziah Holmes play more.
Free Keziah.
Throw that out there. Yeah, exactly right.
All right. Well, in that vein, let's start off with PJ Knowles 09. Wake up, my fellow war chanters. How much will the physicality of that game on Friday carry over into game day against Miami? It seems like mentally everyone may be doing okay, especially Tommy, but what about Deuce? Can he shake it off? Also, do you go for 2 at the end of regulation?
No, good question. I'll the second part first, because I was talking to Ira about it in the press box. With 36 seconds left, that's just, in my opinion, it's too much time to go for 2. Because what that guarantees, if you get it, I would go for 2 if there was 11 seconds left, and it guarantees you win the game, so essentially, or if there's 0 seconds left. And the reason I would go for 2 is because you're going to have to start going for 2 anyway at some point. If you have a great 2-point conversion play that you think can go win the game, especially on the road, it really doesn't matter, road or home, I go for the win, just like Wake Forest did in their first overtime against Georgia Tech. That's the right thing to do. It didn't work. The play didn't work. But you have to start going for 2 anyway. But with 36 seconds left, if you go for 2 and get it, awesome, you're up 36-35. But now Virginia has 4 plays. You know they're going to go for it on 4th down, which if you just do the math and the analytics, if you give an offense 4 downs to go try to score, they're going to go for it on 4th down to get 10 yards to keep the drive alive. They also had 3 timeouts. They only need a field goal. It guarantees they're not going to punt. Or try, take it to overtime. It just, odds are, it obviously didn't happen because he threw a pick. Odds are they're probably going to get in the field goal range and have a chance to win the game. But I guess let me put it this way. It was a weird, that's when Virginia threw the pick, right? With like 15 seconds left?
Yeah, Jabril Rawls. Who pushed the over on her over-under of combined interceptions from Earl Little, Jabril Rawls, and Jerry Wilson.
There you go, man. And Earl and Wilson both could have had some too.
Yeah, right at the buzzer.
I'm trying to explain it in a way that makes sense. I don't think I'm doing a good job. But with 36 seconds left, let's say that on the first, if there's 36 seconds left and it's 35-35, it's a tie game. Florida State is out of timeouts.
Start the ball on your 25 or whatever. Right?
Yeah, they got the ball at their own 25. So they've got to get about 40 yards to be in field goal range. With 36 seconds, you're looking at you could probably run 7 plays in 36 seconds. But you also, 35-35, you don't want to give the game away with a horrible turnover on the first play. So you run something safe, a draw, a screen, a quarterback draw, because you've got timeouts. If you stop them and it's for a 5-yard loss and it's now 2nd and 15 from the 20, they're going to take it into overtime. They're like, okay, this drive's over. We've already used the timeout. We're behind the chains. If we make a bad decision here, we're going to give them a chance to kick a game-winning field goal. Let's go to overtime. We're still 50 yards away from having a chance to win this game. If it's 4-down territory, they're going. And again, the more chances an offense gets, maybe the more chances they have to hit a big play. That's a lot of yammering. I apologize. I think if it's like 15 seconds or less or 20 seconds or less, you absolutely go for the win.
Was it on your radar?
36 seconds left.
Was it on your radar? Because in the group chat, as soon as Florida State had the ball, like with that whatever 2.5 minutes or however much time was left on that last drive of theirs, I literally put in my group chat with my friends. I'm like, if they get a touchdown here, I'm like, do you go for 2? And everybody was like, no. And I was like, well, I think I probably would have. But
you also probably think you have the better team, and you don't want it to come down to just one play. You'd rather get a reset and a fresh start, and hey, maybe win a coin toss. I think it's not just let's go ahead, whether it's a minute left or 7 seconds left or 1:12 left. I think it always has to do with the time. Like what gives you the best chance for them not to go fast break 4 play? They got 4 downs. They're going to go and go and go until they try to get a first down or get in a field goal range. You play a little more conservative when you're in a tie game than you do when you're down by a point, when you just have to go. It turned out the kid threw a pick, but I don't know if he's making a throw like that if they're down by 2 or down by 1. Could be. Again, there's no rhyme or reason. I understand why people would say go for it. I just think Norvell thinks he's got the better team. It also doesn't guarantee a win. It just doesn't guarantee a win. With 6 seconds left or 5 seconds left, if you get a 2 right there, the game is essentially over. You've won the game. With 36 seconds left, the other team having 3 timeouts, it puts you up by a point, but you could also miss it, and then the game's over.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if at that point, when you're not even guaranteed of winning the game, if you get the 2-point conversion, it's not worth risk losing the game on one play. I should have said that 5 minutes ago. I apologize.
That's good.
That was a horrible explanation.
Your internal clock is good. I mean, that literally was about 5 minutes. I'm proud.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and I didn't even answer the first part of the question.
Yeah, he says you don't want to get beat twice. I don't think there's. I don't think that's a. Listen, there's a real possibility they lose to Miami, but I don't think they're going to feel bad for themselves and mope for a week and then go into Miami with their heads hanging. I don't think that's a part
Look,
of
man, I don't know what this says about Mike Norvell and his tenure at Florida State and what it will end up being here, but his teams play better when they're hungry and desperate, and when they've got something to prove. They are not a good hunted football team. At least they haven't been. Remember 2022 now. They were 4-0, top 12 in the country, and they just had the most listless effort against Wake Forest at home. And they kind of got in the game in the fourth quarter, but that was just a gross game against a pretty good but not great Wake Forest team. It started a 3-game losing streak. 2023, they won all those games, but they didn't go out and exactly exert dominance once they got a top 5. They kind of survived some games. I think what happened on Friday night in Virginia, there is a world where the best way for this team to beat Miami was to lose that game on Friday night. Because now you've got Ruben Bain tweeting, talking smack on Twitter.
Deleted it.
Yeah, of course he did, but it's still out there.
Oh, I know.
The world remembers, Ruben.
What we say on the internet echoes in eternity.
That's right.
As Marcus Aurelius said.
You've got that happening. You've got the fact that you're underdogs. You've got the fact that you just dropped 10 spots because of a double overtime loss, and that the focus is on Miami. And I feel like there's a legitimate, real chance that them losing that game, whether it should take this or not, it laser focused them. And laser focus them, right? They're going to play like rabid. That defense is going to play differently. They're going to play like rabid dogs. Whether it means they play well or not, I don't know. But I think that physicality that we saw against Alabama will be right back on display against Miami. Might not mean a win. Don't know what it'll mean. but you are going to see guys flying into piles. You are going to see guys driving people backwards because I think the defense was embarrassed by that performance. And while I don't think this is a great defense, it's better than it played. And it's shown that it's better than it played. And sometimes it needs a little cage rattling, especially when you're not that great. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, Florida State's defense isn't good enough. They don't have enough good players on defense to just kind of go through the motions and win a game against a good team. There is no part of me that thinks that Florida State on Saturday night will just go through the motions.
Right.
They might lose, but they are going to play hard, and I think they're going to play physical, and I think the way they played on Friday night might guarantee that they play like that.
Bit of a long one. Summit 2001. Sorry. No, you. This forthcoming question from Summit 2001, but it's been around since April 28th, 2003, so we'll let it slide. Good morning, wake up, gentlemen. I agree that the loss is a bummer, but not devastating. Monday morning, though, came hard. With that said, since the outcome of Virginia, I've been feverishly working on my hot tub to transform it into a time machine. Based on my calculations, by the time you appear in the stadium, get your Dippin' Dots, and drink a vitamin energy to replenish yourselves, you'll have just a few seconds to tell the coaches the outcome of a particular play. You can't change the outcome, but rather just tell them what will happen so they can change it. What play do you inform them of? The Sawchuk fumble, early tone setter, or defensively allowing the Virginia quarterback to go for touchdowns untouched on keepers? How about the missed interceptions that were not only dropped, but somehow went right through the defender's hands? Or the Deuce offensive PI, or Danzy's drop? For me, he says, it's the interception inside the 10. It's not the 5, almost. I think it was a fine play call. Probably would have gone for a touchdown, but somehow after being deflected, the ball sat in the air like a piñata, only to be plucked out of space for an interception. If we score on that drive and avoid the eruption of enthusiasm for them, who knows how the game goes.
Wait, I don't remember. Was it 7-0 when that happened, or was it 0-0 when that happened?
I think it was 7-0. I'll double check.
I think they had just scored.
Let's make
after
sure
the Sawchuk fumble, because I think
sure.
they had just scored off the Sawchuk fumble. Because you had gotten 2 stops to start the game. Squirrel White with a nice return, and then and caught the other one, I think. And then Sawchuk fumbles and they go and score. And then I feel like you drive down, even after the Danzy drop, you drive down the field, get to the 5. You're about to tie the game.
It's 7-0. They're down 7-0. Yeah, and then it's the next drive.
Yeah, so I think it's that, because then I think they go right down the field and score after that, and they have the ball for 11 minutes. It seemed like. I think that changes the whole complexion of the game. And again, it's not even the play call. And the play call is the play call. It's an RPO. I don't have a problem with that necessarily. I wouldn't give them the option there. It's the timing of it, because it was first down. And what else bothered me about that? And again, this is very nitpicky, because I covered the worst offense in the country last year, and this thing is fun to watch. And Gus is really good at his job. But they got down to the 5 on a couple of Keziah Holmes runs, and I think one of them went really quick. Like, it's Florida, they snapped it with 30 on the play clock.
Right.
And Virginia wasn't ready. They're gassed. Keziah makes a nice cut. He's down to the 5. Go hurry up again. But then they took their time for some reason. They brought in different personnel. They let Virginia get a beat to relax. And I think they snapped it maybe with 10 or 11 instead of 30. Like, I just thought in that moment, keep Keziah in the game. Let Tommy pull it if he has to, because Keziah is tired. And then if you don't get the first down, if you don't get the touchdown on Tommy's run, then take a beat. And I just thought they should have kept their foot on the gas after the Keziah run down to the 5. And instead, they took a lot of time, and they ended up with that interception. I still think if you could tell Tony White, hey, you're going to be up 21-14. They're going to complete a couple of passes out wide to the sideline, and then they're going to try to come back to Jerry's guy on the next play. Have him be in position, know that throw's coming, and the game is over. I think that's the deciding play in the game, the Jerry dropped interception, which I don't want to call it a drop.
Yeah,
but
it was. And
it would have been a really nice play, but he is literally a half a step away from putting his team up 28-14 right before half.
All right, because I just got done with this run. Because in the notes, it says that they went no huddle, which they technically did, but
they always go no huddle.
31, 30, 29. Yeah, so they snapped the ball on that interception. Yeah, it goes down to under 5 seconds on the play clock.
Why? I mean, they had just been rolling downhill, snapping it with 28, 26, 30, and then they get down to the 5, and I don't know if Keziah got banged up and they weren't ready for it, or they just,
He comes off. He's the only one that looks like he came off the field. Everybody else stayed on field. Yeah, and Cromach came in for one substitution.
Why wait that long?
And even if he's banged up, I don't think that was going to be a run play. So, why?
Why? I just thought they would have kept their foot on the gas.
Yeah, they did not.
And that's something to learn from. That's something to live with. I just think if you because I tell you this, and this is a little hint, everyone, but almost always when they go fast, when they're snapping it with 31 on the play clock, it is a run. They are not typically throwing the ball there. It is a run where either the obviously running back or Tommy keeps it because the defense is gassed, and they're just trying to get the drive going and keep the drive going and get the defense tired. So you knew I just figured, okay, this is another run. This Virginia team is gassed. That's a 1st and goal at the 5. Go quick, snap it quick. They are reeling. They're on their back foot. You've just snapped a bunch of plays in a row. They're exhausted. Why give them a break in that moment for a personnel change? Even if Keziah isn't right, and maybe it's because Tommy wasn't 100%, that they're like, okay, normally they would just be like, Tommy, if Keziah is banged up or tired, you're keeping it. Go score. But it didn't work out that way. And I didn't like the snap it with 5 on the play clock. Didn't make sense in that spot. But again, they put up 514 yards, 38 points, and it should have been at least 44 points, but Deuce dropped the ball. Oh, and that question too. I think Deuce will be fine because I think in his head, I think he caught it. And it wasn't like he just straight up dropped it. You know what I mean? He did come back and corral it. Now, he didn't corral it in time. It was a mistake on his part, but it's not like he was Mr. Butterfingers and it just went off his chest.
Right.
Like the kid from Georgia in the Alabama game. Like, he still ended up concentrating enough in the back of the end zone to almost make a big-time play. I know almost doesn't count, but so I think he'll be fine from that.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Always a good time. Tonight, trivia going down at 7 o'clock. Thursday night, bingo night. Friday, though, Friday's where you want to really be hanging out at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Happy hour, meet and greet, 5 p.m., but the happy hour actually starts like at 4 p.m., goes from 4 to 7 because it's a weekday. But come hang out with Corey Clark. I think I'll be there as well, Corey. I'll be hanging around town.
You think? It's just the Miami game, Aslan.
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm getting a little antisocial. Abby's...
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Abby's coming back from Italy on Friday night, and then she's driving to Tallahassee on Saturday. I'm like, listen, if everyone knows that you're in town, we're going to have to go. I don't mean this like obligate. I'm like, but people are going to probably want to see you, me, us at the tailgate. And she's like, that's fine. I don't care. Like, let's go. It's fun. I liked it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive anywhere in this town after Thursday. It's going to be a madhouse.
Okay.
But I need to tighten up and not be such a sissy. I'll be there at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Y'all come out. I did say the other day I'm going to be there with Vitamin Energy, so I need to hold up my end of the bargain. I'll be there.
Absolutely.
Come on out. Make your weekend plans if you can't make it in Doak Campbell to watch the game with all the Noles fans that'll be at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Saturday for the game as well. Ice cold drinks, delicious food, billiards, darts, friendly folks. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. CPTallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. All right, a few more Virginia-related questions. Let's go to Braden McGill. Wake up. Do you think that the team, specifically on the defense, was looking ahead to Miami too much?
I don't think they played like they're going to play on Saturday night. I don't think they looked ahead. I mean, I just don't know how they could because Virginia does have a really good offense. Virginia might be the best offense they face. So it would be crazy if they're looking ahead, and it does have some veteran guys. I just will go back to what I said maybe 10 minutes ago. Like, this defense isn't good enough personnel-wise to not play at a violent physical level. If they're playing at even 90% or 84%, of course that's good enough for Kent State. That's not good enough to beat a Virginia. It might be good enough to beat a Virginia Tech or a Stanford. It's not good enough in that environment against that offense. And I just don't think they played with the level of aggression that they needed to. I don't think it was necessarily preparedness. It's just, and it happens, man. I mean, they shouldn't because they basically had 3 weeks off. And I don't think they were necessarily saving it up. Let's don't give it all right now because we got to save it for Miami. I just think it's a natural human condition. You think you're probably a little bit better than you are as a collective and also as an individual player. You're playing in that stadium. It was probably 50,000 people. 10 of them Florida State fans, 10,000 I mean. It didn't seem like that big time of an environment, maybe. I don't know. Their juices just weren't flowing like they needed to, and that's on them. I mean, it's a football game. Get your juices flowing. And even if they had played 100%, like all out, hair on fire, they're still going to give up multiple touchdowns. Like Virginia's good enough that they're going to score on you. I just think, as Tony White said on Sunday, they would have had a lot more 3rd and 7s instead of 3rd and 3s because they would have sent guys backwards. Maybe they'd force a fumble. That's allowed. Sawchuk did it. You're allowed to hit hard enough to force a fumble. And I just don't feel like they played with that sense of urgency. But I don't think it's because Miami was looming. I just think it's because they didn't. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to get into the collective head of a defensive unit. But you see it in sports all the time. They're just not quite as dialed in physically or fired up like they need to be emotionally at a fever pitch that they were for Alabama and what they will be Saturday night. Now, again, they can play as hard as they absolutely can on Saturday night. Everybody gives 111%. They still might lose because Miami's got good players and their offensive line is better than your defensive line. So that will be an issue. But if you're flying in and trying to knock people backwards and driving people backwards and playing with reckless abandon, you will make more plays that way. And you just didn't see that enough on Friday night, I thought.
Adjacently aligned questions. Random_John. Good morning, guys. After the loss, what matters more this week? Fixing X's and O's or getting the players' confidence back? Nole Dad for life. Do you think our loss was more because of game plan or execution?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the defense. So if you want to, like, the offense was good enough to win. Not great, but good enough to win. The defense, yeah, I think it was execution. I mean, I don't think Tony White was great in that game, but they did have 3 picks. They almost had a 4th. At some point, your defensive lineman has to get home.
They got you a 3 and out. They got you a 3 and out after that 4th down. Didn't go your way in late 4th quarter. That,
yeah,
Virginia,
they also got you 3 and outs to start the game. 2 3 and outs to start the game. You did nothing with them.
Yeah, you're right. Like the offense did do enough, but also like if the offense doesn't turn the ball over, then maybe the defense is not put in such bad predicaments either. But yeah, I don't think it's an X's and O's thing. I mean, it really is a motivational kind of pushing the right buttons kind of thing. Because to your point, I just think Florida State's going to come out looking quite different on defense. And I'm not talking about personnel-wise or the way they're going to line up X's and O's and the pre-snap looks they're going to give Miami. I just think they're going to come out with a different level of purpose that I guess maybe going back to Braden's question about, because my thing is like, what is looking ahead? How does that rear its head on Saturday? I get maybe you're not practicing as crisp as you want to on Wednesday and Thursday, but man, it's still Saturday. Like Tommy's got a guy in his face at 1st and goal at the 5-yard line. I mean, I don't think he's thinking about like, oh wow, like I can't wait for that Miami game. Go. And then, so it's hard to kind of contextualize all that. But I mean, it's safe to say that, listen, the Friday night being on the road, ACC opener, like there's a few games now of you on tape. Teams have a kind of a better idea. And if you don't bring your best and like they are not so superiorly talented than anybody on their schedule to where they can't sleepwalk, which they kind of did in the first part of the game offensively, and then
they did. They did. They had the 2 drives where they didn't score. One was a great drive right up until the dumb play there at the 5-yard line. And the first one I think is going to be good if Deuce doesn't push off, but he did. And it was an easy call. So the slow start is absolutely on the offense. You go down, you get a 3 and out, and then you go score. If your defense gets you a 3 and out, if you go score right there, or on the next one. If you're up 7-0, the whole tenor of the game changes. But instead, you find yourself behind 14-0, and then Mackay dropping that. There was some stuff that just seemed careless. But I don't know. I really, honestly, I'll go back to what I said yesterday. I don't think it has anything to do with like looking ahead or not taking Virginia seriously or even not being prepared. I think it's they went 3.5 weeks without a competitive football snap. And you lose some things when you go that long. That's why season openers are always so goofy. It's our bowl games, back when people played in bowl games. because there's some rust that develops, and you're just not used to that kind of speed, that kind of physical contact. You can do all you want in practice, and you can practice as hard as they do, and they do practice hard. It's still different in a game. Everything about it feels different. And when your mind hasn't had to play with real game pressure since 2.5 minutes were left against Alabama on August 30th, and here you are a month later, that's what I think was the biggest difference. And again, you also got 2 wins in that time frame, so let's not diminish that. Like you got to get to 3-0 because of the schedule, but I do think it hurt them at the beginning of that game. They just weren't ready, and there's nothing you can really do in practice to simulate what it's going to feel like on a Friday night road game when you haven't played a competitive snap in 3 weeks.
We've come a long way, and we haven't even talked about Miami. It's Miami week. The music at the beginning of the show indicates it is Miami week.
Did you play Pitbull? What did you play?
Gloria
Estefan?
That was yesterday.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay.
Trivia. I think the last 3 years in a row, but as long as we're doing this together, you and I, Conga from Gloria Estefan will always kick us off Mondays on the podcast for Miami week.
And then Vanilla Ice is Wednesday usually, because obviously we all know he's from A1A.
A1A.
We'll see what happens on Wednesday.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be a long show, I feel like, today, everybody. So we're not going to do a lot of preamble here. We got the cameras on. It's Miami week. This is like the best question from the mailbag, Corey, that deals with Miami. So, ta-da. Let's generate discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Corey, please, a soundtrack, if you don't mind.
And then hit the button.
It is generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Give them a follow over on the Instagram page. It's Cummins Lifestyle. It's all one word. There's so many good things to do out there in this great world of ours, but you want portable power when you're out of pocket. Cummins does it best. Quiet, reliable. It's where you got to be. Owning line of products. The portable generators. Take them anywhere you got to go. Portable power stations, which will be part of our end-of-year giveaway. Marine generators. RV generators. If you need power, Cummins has got you covered. They are a global power leader for over 100 years. All right, Corey, we go to, I think, a fraternity that's been around for over 100 years. Great lads. One of my best friends was a Delt.
Okay.
We go to FSU, Delt 93. Wake up, Foxtrot Mike. Foxtrot Mike. Looking at Miami, they are more like Alabama than Virginia, especially at the quarterback position. I feel this bodes well for the Noles. In your opinion, how are the Canes different from Alabama? What position groups are the Canes better at than Alabama? Go Noles. I think the first thing you look at is like these offensive lines, right? These like highly touted offensive lines, first-round picks. Francis Maui-Noah, right tackle for Miami, left tackle Caden Proctor. They haven't played a lot of Jaden Roberts, who is one of their freaks, first-round projections, at least on the Alabama side. But the difference to me, Corey, Miami's shown to have a functional running game. I think right now Alabama's ranked outside the top 100. Now, could that have been a bad matchup in week 1 against Florida State and then having to play Georgia? Possibly, probably. But it seems like to me Miami has the better running game. Now, quarterback-wise, I think their quarterback is less likely to be rattled the way that Ty Simpson was in week 1 because Carson Beck's been in a lot more firefights than Ty Simpson has been. But there's a lot more tape out there of Carson Beck making the bad plays, turning the ball over, whereas Ty Simpson was more or less kind of betrayed by his own nerves and some slippery hands and not turning the ball over as much as Carson Beck could potentially do if Florida State can get home with like less than 6 people, we hope.
Yeah, and I think all those are the right answers. I think Miami has a better defense overall. I definitely think they have the better defensive ends. They have a first-round pick, maybe a top 10 pick with Bain, and the other kid's really good too. I think they have a strong defensive line. But the offensive lines are probably close to equal. I do think Miami will be more committed to the run. But, yeah, I would say the biggest difference, honestly, is the quarterback because while Ty Simpson, he's already one of the leading Heisman candidates now because of the big 24 he put up in Sanford Stadium. But I think he's probably a good quarterback now. I wouldn't say he was a good quarterback on August 30th. I think Florida State rattled him. I also thought he was just rattled by the moment. Carson Beck won't be that. But you can rattle Carson Beck. Like, if you get pressure on him, he will make mistakes. And unlike Ty Simpson, he can't use his legs to avoid it like Ty Simpson or like, to going back to the question, Chandler Morris could. So maybe you can force them into some mistakes, some strip sacks. That would be nice. Maybe a fumble or two. I think that they're pretty evenly matched, Miami and Alabama. Honestly, I think maybe like I said, I think Miami will be a little bit more committed to the running game. But as good as I think Miami's wideouts have proven to be so far, they're not Alabama's. Right. You know, Alabama's got. I mean, that kid Ryan Williams is their second best receiver apparently. That other kid's exceptional. So as good as Miami is, they're not going to be as good as what you've already seen. So that should give you some comfort there that you've already seen better wideouts than what Miami has, and Miami has some good ones, especially that freshman. I just think the difference is if you give Carson Beck time, he is going to torch you. I don't know if that was going to be the case with Ty Simpson that much. He made some big plays. He found some guys in the middle of the field, but overall, he kind of he never really strung it together. Carson Beck can put up 400 on you if you don't get pressure on him. And so I think that's the biggest difference.
What I do wonder, though, Corey, is that if you do blitz, like, listen, in a perfect world, you just rush 4, you can drop 7, and then it's lights out. But if Florida State has to bring more resources to try to get to Carson Beck, is he the kind of guy that he can see it? And listen, when you bring more guys in, that's obviously there's going to be more one-on-one matchups. He'll be able to, he probably knows where to go with the ball, but everything's moving so fast. It's Doak Campbell Stadium. It's a huge rivalry game. I mean, how key is it for Florida State to be able to get home with 4? Do you think they can blitz 5 or 6 and Carson Beck isn't quite to that level to where he'll be able to instantly feel that pressure, get the ball out quick and make the right read?
Look, man, I think Beck is a really good quarterback. I think he's going to play in the NFL, but there's a reason he's not in the NFL right now. He is not a finished product. He is not incredible. There were plenty of times where he struggled at Georgia, especially last year, against pressure. And he's played a lot of football, but still sometimes he gets confused. Every quarterback does. You can't just continually blitz 5 or 6. He will pick that apart. He's a bright enough kid. But if you change it up and you dial up different looks from different formations and keep him guessing a lot, and more importantly, keep the offensive line guessing, you can get home. I think that no quarterback is like impermeable to being confused and to being rushed. So as much as he's played a lot of football, he is still not. He's still a work in progress, and I think there is a good chance that you will get home a couple of times. It's when you get home. Like, take, for instance, the Ashland Barker sack the other night against Chandler Morris. You'd like that to be a fumble because they ended up scoring on that drive anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you swallowed him up. The kid did a good job of once he saw he couldn't get away, he just kind of wrapped the ball up. But make that a fumble. Make that a big play and not just a good play. And then see what happens. So, look, Carson Beck is going to make plays. He's going to hit some big throws. He will be probably – would you say he's probably the best quarterback you're going to face just from a pure throwing standpoint? Probably the best pure passer you're going to face. And I think this is the best offensive line you're going to see. So it's going to be a challenge. But they aren't – I don't know if overall you'd say they're a better offense than Alabama. I think they're really even.
Is Virginia in Scott Stadium a better offense than Miami and Doak Campball Stadium?
Probably. Probably just because of crowd noise and momentum, and probably. And look, that's not to besmirch Miami. I think Miami has a good offense. I think Virginia has a really good offense too. It's just it's Virginia, so nobody's going to give them credit because of the name. I think that's as tough a challenge as what you're seeing this weekend. The difference, in my opinion, with this game is, I don't foresee you giving up 44 points this week or 46 points, whatever it was, 35 in regulation, maybe. But I also don't see you scoring in the mid-30s or getting close to 40 against Miami's defense. I think this is probably one of, if not the best defense you're going to face. I think it's probably, besides Clemson, maybe the best defensive front you're going to face. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about offensively difference. I mean, for Alabama's loaded, quote unquote, as they were on defense, it mainly seemed like it was their secondary, but they were some of the guys that were caught loafing on the film on the All-22. Yeah. They didn't have Tim Keenan. They don't have great run stuffing interior defensive linemen. They don't have any edge rushers. Alabama, like they do not. Miami does have that, but I don't know if I mean, listen, I think they're probably better their front four than what Alabama's was. So that's not going to help out Florida State, but Like, I don't know if this is a great Ruben Bain game. Like, Louisville's probably a better Ruben Bain game because, Jeff Brom's going to drop Miller Moss back there on 5-step drops and try to get people open 50 yards downfield. I don't know how much that's going to be in Gus's bag, but I think that's the biggest difference too, I think, is that like Miami's not going to get punked. I don't think Florida State's going to get punked by Miami, but I don't think what Florida State did to Alabama was incredible. I mean, the way they like took their fight from them so early on, put them on their heels, made them play scared and a step slow. Like, I just don't think Miami's going to do that, at least not for the better part of 60 minutes, maybe the first quarter or so. But like Alabama was just off their game as soon as that first drive came, to pay dirt for them. So I just think that's going to be a little bit of a different thing too. Just Miami and their relentlessness, at least especially on defense.
Yeah, but again, defenses aren't quite as good on the road as they are at home. And think
first
about
road game for the Canes, by the way.
Right, and also it's hard to play with a lot of energy and juice when you're at home and you've got and they've had actual crowds these first 3 games. Well, I guess they played 4, which is crazy. They played their first 4 games at home, but Notre Dame for a season opener, that's a big-time crowd. That's a big-time environment. You then get South Florida, who just knocked off Florida and is ranked, so you get yourself a little more juice for that game, and then you've got Florida. So they've had a lot of energy and a lot of juice for these games. They're going to have to that they got from the crowd, maybe. They're going to have to provide their own on Saturday night. They're going to have to provide their own juice, and they're going to have to rally up when Florida State makes big plays because Florida State will make some big plays. And I will say this is a substantial step up for any offense that Miami has seen. Notre Dame, I think, does have a good offense, but that was their first game with a brand new quarterback.
Yep.
This Florida State team with Gus and Tommy and Deuce and this the way they can run the ball, Florida's not even close to this.
No.
Neither was South Florida. South Florida's a good team, but they're not a good offense. This Florida State offense is one of the best in the country, and Miami has not seen anything like it. Are they prepared for it? We'll find out. They might be able to stop it. They might be able to slow it down. But this is a substantial step up in competition that the Miami defense is going up against. Just like I think, obviously, it's a step up for Florida State on the other side.
Shout out to FSU Delt 93, last winner of September. We'll do the drawing next week because, again, I think it's going to be a pretty long show. Lots more to come. But don't forget to check out our friends over at Cummins. Cummins Lifestyles, all one word. Give them a follow on Instagram and just, let them know that you're listening to the program and check out all the cool things you can do either at home with your backup generator at the house or in the RV and the Onan line of products. Cummins Lifestyles, all one word. Decisions. Power or speed, quality or quantity. How about both? How about all? You don't have to sacrifice anything when you choose Brunt Workwear. You're not only going to get durable, well-crafted, resilient workwear, but also really stylish choices that allow you to go ahead and pivot right from the job site to your kids' activities, running errands, or meeting up for drinks after work. And since Brunt Workwear is geared for you, the real worker, they know you've got no time to waste. You need those work boots to deliver once you get them in the mail and you lace them up. So enjoy the peace of mind of work boots and gear that are ready to go right out of the box. Got that broken and comfortable feeling day one to give you the comfort and security you want. Use the promo code WAKEUP. I'm going to say it one more time. Wake up. It's all one word. Over at bruntworkwear.com to save $10 off your order. I'm going to say the website again, everybody. You ready? bruntworkwear.com. Use that promo code to save $10 off your order. We are back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. warchantbogo, your promo code. We're not done with Virginia, Corey. We're going back to it. We got a lot of questions that are basically pleading for Tony White to figure out pass rush and how vital it's going to be moving forward. Jangalang says, trying to comprehend the contrast of the defensive performances versus Alabama and Virginia is mind-numbing. Their ability to push us around was shocking. Our inability to get a pass rush was frustrating. I didn't think it was great versus Alabama, but the difference being Morris knowing exactly where to go when we did blitz. What do we make from these two starkly different performances? How can Tony adjust? Somebody else was asking about what else Tony can do. Our guy, Bakari, Big B, after 4 games, I think we have a pretty good idea of the strengths and weaknesses of the team. Strengths, run game, reliable pass catchers, and Deuce and Randy, and a decent secondary. Weaknesses, much more glaring, biggest one being pass rush. We can't seem to generate a pass rush without blitzing. In my opinion, it's causing the inability to get off the field. What would you do to remedy the situation? Make Amari full-time pass rusher, blitz more, play man more? Carson Beck, not the most mobile quarterback, but if we can't get him on the ground, it'll be another frustrating evening on defense. And we got more, but let's just start with those.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the pass rush is the biggest weakness on the team, and that can always be a problem. And it was last year because your two best defensive linemen are your interior guys, and while that's a really big deal to have a Darrell Jackson, defensive tackles aren't sack machines. They push the pocket backwards, but it's up to the guys on the edge to actually go wrap up quarterbacks typically and make plays. Braden Fisk was an anomaly there at the end of that season, but typically defensive tackles are pressure guys and pocket pushers, but they're not sack artists. Right. You've got to have guys on the edge that are hard to block. And it just doesn't appear that right now Florida State has those, so I don't know what – it's not like he can go to the free agent wire and get somebody, although maybe he can. I don't know the rules of college football anymore. Go pay the best pass rusher in the MAC and see if he can play Saturday night. But I think that it also was a little different with and that was somebody brought up that point about Miami and Virginia. Well, that Chandler Morris isn't Carson Beck. Like Carson Beck's legs don't scare you. Simpson could run a little bit too now. But I just think the biggest difference between what you saw with the pass rush against Alabama and maybe the pass rush against Virginia is I just don't think Morris panicked. And I think there was some panic with Alabama's quarterback.
Well
which
said.
If you played him again now, would be different probably.
Probably.
But he wasn't that guy on August 30th, and I think he rushed things. I think he saw some ghosts at times. I think he felt pressure that maybe wasn't there and rolled to his right when he didn't have to. I thought Chandler Morris, man, stood in there and trusted his offensive line for the most part and made plays. That first touchdown he threw on 3rd and goal, the kid ended up being wide open in the middle of the end zone. I don't know that Simpson even sees that. I think he might, like his first read's not there, and he starts to panic a little bit. Morris sat there, I think, went, looked, let his guy get open, clear, and then he's wide open in the end zone. That's a veteran quarterback making a veteran throw, veteran play, veteran read. And Simpson could probably do that now, but he couldn't then. Yep. Carson Beck will do that to you now. Like, he is absolutely going to trust his offensive line, and he will wait till somebody's open. Look. I don't know how else to say it, man. Stephon Thompson, James Williams, whoever else they put on the edge, whether it's Amari Williams, other linebackers coming on blitzes, you've got to get home. You've got to be harder to block. Be harder to block, and then see what happens. I didn't think any of those guys were all that difficult to block. Save Darrell Jackson. I didn't think any of the guys on the defensive line were hard to block on Friday night. And just so you know, Miami has a better offensive line than Virginia. But you're also playing at home, and that is the difference. They also might call it a hold. Miami doesn't get the benefit of the ACC referees either. They might actually call a hold or two, as Tony White alluded to on the that third. That was crazy. I forgot all about that until he brought it up. The third down play in overtime, where Earl Little almost ends the game with the interception, but also Shaheem could have been called. I thought could have been called for DPI. Yeah. There is a blatant hold out on the edge where Chandler Morris rolls to his left to get outside to escape pressure. There's a hold, and it's just not called. And the referee's looking right at it. It's like, okay, man, I'm sure Florida State had some blatant ones that were missed too, but it's like, come on, man. I say that to say Miami won't get away with that. The referees love to throw flags on these two teams. So maybe draw a hold or two. That would be nice. But, yeah, I think it's just – honestly, I just think it's basically – play better. I hate saying that because then what are you paying the coaches for? But at some point they can only do so much. Yeah. I've always pushed back on. It's not the coaches. The coaches can't throw the pitches. The coaches can't hit the curveballs. The coaches can't catch or throw or block. It's like, well, the coaches are in charge of all this. So figure out a way to get your team in the best possible chance to succeed. Tony White got pressure. And there were times when he brought 5 or 6 guys, and it didn't matter. They've just got to be better about getting home. And also, James Williams, go get you a sack or two, man. We're into Game 5 now. He is not the face. I don't want to make him the poster child of the lack of pass rush, but that's kind of what he was brought in to do. And while he's gotten some pressures here and there, he has not impacted a game really yet. It's time for him to go impact the game.
He had 6 against Alabama, and I guess it would maybe help to have 1 or 2 more or a sack against Virginia. So I think it's premature
impact like
to
make a play. Like it's good to get a
Right.
pressure. That's great. I don't want to push that. I don't want to make that nothing.
Yeah.
But you weren't here just to pressure the quarterback. You're here to sack the quarterback. Yeah. Like you had your defensive line coach talking about you'd only be here for a year. I guarantee you're staying if you finish the year with a big donut next to the sack total. So get home. He's a good player. I do think he's a good player. I just don't think he's used to being on the field as much as he's been that this has happened. I think he's getting kind of run at a lot. At least Virginia did. So, but he's never been much like Deuce. Never really being the go-to guy before and the number one receiver. James Williams has never been this guy either. He's never been asked to be like the linchpin of a pass rush. He's kind of been a specialist. He literally averaged like 15 snaps a game. Now he's playing 50. So he's growing too. This is new for him. I know he's an older kid, but this is still new for him. And I'm really, really interested in what he looks like on Saturday night. Because I don't think Friday night was probably a great film watch for him. But I do think there's some skill there and some talent there. And a couple of big plays against Miami, and nobody's going to, and all is right with the world, and that might propel him to have a really big second half of the season.
Yep. Greenville, wake up, gentlemen. Man, what a gut punch that game was. After listening to Corey on Monday, though, I feel slightly better, and it's a huge but, I agree with Corey. A loss this week and our playoff hopes are over.
Yeah.
One thing baffles me. How did the defense go from the physical hitting machine in the Bama game to this? And more importantly, what can Coach White do in a week's time to prepare for that stout offensive line of the Canes? I still am glad Coach White is here. I believe if anyone can turn it around, it's him. So the question is a simple one. What does he have to do, or did the loss itself wake the players up?
Yeah, we've touched on that, but I do think it's just the loss itself. I think it's going to be a whole different vibe. And also the energy they're going to feel from the crowd will be unlike anything they've ever really felt before. It will be more than the Alabama game. So that enough will get juices flowing. So I do not think the physicality will be an issue. They are going to play hard and physical. They just might not be good enough to withstand that offensive line. Like just because Miami's running the ball does not necessarily mean that Florida State is not playing hard or playing with the same ferocity they played against Alabama. Miami's offensive line just might be better than Alabama's. And I think it probably is, honestly. And I think Carson Beck is better than Ty Simpson was in that game. But I will say this: what I'm not worried about their mindset for this game at all. They're going to come out and they're going to play hard.
Yep.
I'm not worried about their lack of confidence. Now, if they get down in an early hole again, you wonder about that. But as long as they
showed they can dig out of one. I know it's a different team, different situation, but they've shown they can do that. So I don't think that'll be a.
But what I was going to say is what I worry about, honestly, not to look ahead, Aslan, but you got a noon game the next week against Pitt. And that's what, like, win or lose this game, that Pitt game now becomes a playoff. Even if you beat Miami, if you lose to Pitt, who cares? And if you lose to Miami, you've got to beat Pitt or the season is officially off the rails. And I genuinely wonder and worry about if they have a lackadaisical bone in their DNA, in their body. What's it going to be like a week after the Miami game for a sleepy nooner against Pitt? Because, again, I just want to stress this. This defense isn't good enough to not play hard and to not bring its greatest strength against Alabama was the physicality it played with and the ferocity. Not X's and O's, not well-timed blitzes or making plays on the football. They didn't create a turnover in that game. It was just how hard they played. And if that's not going to be their greatest strength, anybody can beat them, I think. Now, I still think they'll beat Pitt even if they don't play great on defense, but I actually worry more about their mindset for that game than I do this one. But it is true, man. I was thinking about it driving home on Monday from Atlanta about just – if they don't win this game, they aren't making the playoff. But let's flip that around, man. We have made October, and Florida State is absolutely in playoff contention.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, we're 4 games in, great, yada, yada. But they are. They accomplished kind of what they needed to in the sense that they are 3-1. And they've gotten to this Miami game where it matters. And just treat this as a playoff game, which it is, especially for Florida State. If you win this game, you are absolutely right in the heart of the playoff hunt again. This is a huge game. And that's what I was talking about last week. Is like the Virginia game was almost, it doesn't matter. Now, if you lose this game, yeah, sure. But if you win this game, which is a possibility, gang, then all of a sudden you're right back. Everything is still right in front of you. And it's kind of a cool thing that you're playing Miami with real stakes. Like real stakes and real things at play here. And I'm not quite maybe as excited as I would have been if it was two undefeated teams and a top 10 team and I guess Pat McAfee taking his shirt off. But I'm still really, really excited for this game because it's a huge game. It is a huge game. You did enough in September. You weren't perfect. Not a lot of teams were. You weren't perfect, but you did enough in September to make this game a monumental game. And if you win it, everything is still out in front of you. So, yes, if they lose this game, probably can kiss the playoffs goodbye or it's going to be tough. But, man, if you win this game, it's all right there. So you've got your December playoff game right here in October. And it's at home and it's against Miami. It's against Miami. What a cool environment that's going to be on Saturday night.
Corey, we're still waiting for some of these college games to come across over at Underdog Fantasy. Download the Underdog Fantasy app, everybody. We got a lot of baseball going on today, though, Corey. Is there a particular game you feel most comfortable if I throw your way?
Yeah, let's do Red Sox Yankees.
Okay, Red Sox Yankees. Let's do Red Sox Yankees. All right, we got Bregman, Bellinger, Fried, Judge, Paul Goldschmidt, Giancarlo Stanton, any player that you have a good pulse on, more so than the others.
What's Fried? What do we got for Fried?
5.5 punch outs, higher or lower. 17.5 outs, 4.5 hits allowed.
Over with the hits allowed. Sorry, higher with the hits allowed.
Okay,
that's my one for him. I would also do. He's good. I feel bad because I kind of want him to suck just because he left my team.
Yeah.
But he also won a World Series for us. So I kind of want good things to happen to Max Fried too. But I hate the Red Sox. I hate the Red Sox more than the Yankees, which is hard to do, but I do.
I'm with you.
So I kind of want bad things to happen to the Red Sox.
Sorry, Matt.
Which is why they're gonna just drub Max Fried. I just see it. I feel it. I feel like they're gonna score 5 runs off him.
Judge, single half home run, higher or lower?
Lower.
Okay, and we need a Salk. Jaron Duran, Bregman, Trevor Story. Who's their pitcher? They don't think they have their pitcher available.
And it Crochet.
Oh yeah, Crochet. Yeah, 7.5 punch outs, 17.5 outs, 4.5
higher on the punch outs.
7.5. You're going higher on.
Yeah. Yankees strike out a lot. He's a really good pitcher.
Okay.
And like I said, I think the Red Sox are going to win this game.
Okay.
So I'm betting on bad things to happen to the Yankees.
$10 on that with a flex gives you a little bit of security. You can turn $10 into about $15. But
that's not good. Take the flex away, man. We don't need that. These are locks. These are stone cold locks.
Well, it's 2.7. It's 2.7 to 1 odd. So yeah, you'll get $27 if you put $10 down on this one. We're warming up.
What about if they put $100 down?
If they put $100 down, they'll get $272.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, put some real money because these are stone cold locks.
Only the
Please know I'm being sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic.
Be responsible. Download the Underdog app today and sign up with promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo. Your promo code, take advantage of it. This is a good question. I always like when people ask questions and then somebody comes into the thread and answers it pretty much. but this is kind of how it worked out. Jaronol 1518, should Florida State stop playing these big-name out-of-conference opponents to open the year? The LSU victory in 2023 did not help them get into the playoff. Now Alabama, who has the same record as Florida State, but incidentally lost to Florida State head-to-head, is 8 spots ahead of Florida State. Let's not normalize this. PJ Knowles 09 jumps in, though, and says, Corey, if we don't play Alabama and win, we're not even ranked.
Who cares? That's true, but who cares?
Well, when you're talking about having to be one of the 12 best teams in the country, and I know they don't do it based on the polls, but
they don't. That's what I'm saying. They do it based on if you win your conference. And
but there's an at-large component that you could maybe get in there out of the ACC. I mean,
I guess what I would say is what I don't like about it is the inequity of it, in that Alabama loses that game, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. They're already back where they were ranked before that game because they beat a big, bad SEC team. Florida State doesn't get the luxury of going and getting another marquee win. Now, they're lucky
Miami,
this
buddy.
year.
We got Miami.
This year.
And Clemson sucks. That's not the nation's fault that Clemson sucks,
But also, what is Georgia good? Do we know? Is LSU worth the day?
They haven't lost 3 games before. They didn't lose 3 games before October, though,
Who? Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you got lucky this year that Miami is a marquee name. But if you beat Miami, you're not going to jump up the way Alabama jumped up for beating Georgia. So I can promise you this. If Alabama beats Vanderbilt and Florida State beats Miami, giving them 2 top 10 wins, Alabama will still be ranked ahead of Florida State even though Alabama lost to Florida State.
I don't think so.
That is not normal. But, man, they're not jumping up 8 spots, 10 spots. They're not going to jump ahead of Alabama if Alabama beats a big – now it is Vanderbilt. But if they beat Vanderbilt handily, if they cover the spread, yeah, man, I don't think Florida State's not jumping back into the top 5. They lost to a crappy ACC team, right? Now that ACC team is ranked, but they lost to a crappy ACC team.
I think they got Louisville this week too, Virginia. That's a eminently losable game.
Oh, they're probably going to lose that game. I would actually. Where is that game? Probably Louisville.
Let's see here.
Yeah, if they're playing at Louisville, they're losing that game.
Yeah, it's in Louisville. 6.5 point favorite. The Cards.
Yeah. They're going to lose to Louisville. I wholeheartedly believe that.
So there goes your ranked win.
Right, and then they're done.
Win,
and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's too bad. That they lost to a bad Virginia team. They don't get the benefit of the doubt. So again, it's just you can't if you're in the SEC and you lose a game, you don't get punished because they got punished for losing to Florida State, right? They dropped 10 spots. They win one game that matters. Who else did they beat, Aslan? They beat ULM and they beat Wisconsin. Yeah. They beat one SEC team and they vault back into the top 10.
They knocked off one team that's had 38 consecutive home wins. That's
33.
33.
Don't hyperbolize. 33.
Sorry, apologize.
And they won because a kid dropped a pass. Now they played great.
Virginia won because a guy dropped a pass. It happened.
I know you're right. It's exactly right. But Florida State got punished. I think what bothers you is getting back to the question. You don't get a benefit out of it. If you beat one of these SEC teams early, it's because you beat them in the season opener, and they got better. They proved they got better as the season went along. Otherwise, but you didn't. And if you lose to them, well, then you got no chance. And I would just say this: as we went through 2023, and we saw what that win over LSU ended up meaning, which was nothing at all. And then you go through this season, literally 2 years later. You have the same record as the team you beat by 2 touchdowns, but you're 10 spots behind them. That's outlandish. There's no good excuse for that. That is outlandish. But it is what it is. It's the way the world works. The SEC gets the benefit of the doubt over and over and over again. Clearly, Alabama is a better team now than they were when they played Florida State. There's no debating that. But then why play the game if it doesn't end up mattering? Like Florida State loses in double overtime, and now they're barely in the top 20. Meanwhile, they have a win over Alabama, a 2-touchdown win. So is Florida State better than Georgia? Because Florida State's not ranked ahead of Georgia.
But
they have one common opponent. Florida State beat that team by 14 points. Georgia lost on its home field. Georgia's ahead. Why? Because they got a road win at another big, bad SEC team.
Well, that's
in overtime. I guess
the 23.
But I don't know how much better Tennessee is than Virginia. Like, I don't know. I don't think Florida State – if Florida State can lose at Virginia, they absolutely could lose at Tennessee. But there is still this perspective that, man, Tennessee is 5 times better than Virginia.
Right.
And that is an embarrassing loss in Charlottesville. It is not an embarrassing loss in Charlottesville. A couple of those dudes are NFL players, man. And that running back is legit, and that quarterback is good. That was not an easy win. And I don't think Georgia rolls in there and beats them by 5 touchdowns. Yeah. But we still have this perception that they would. When the games are actually played on the field and you see what the ACC and the SEC are, yes, the SEC is better on a whole, but they're not winning these games by 60 points. South Carolina barely beat Virginia Tech. But
Tennessee hammered Syracuse, though. But anyways, we don't have to go into the whole SEC versus ACC.
Right,
I just think it's too early. Better. I think it's too early to say the Alabama game, Florida State game didn't matter if you're a Florida State fan. Let's see how things look in November if they're both 9-2.
Correct.
Because listen, this is what maybe ironically this is how it's all supposed to happen. You got hosed in 2023 because Texas had beaten Alabama, but Alabama won the SEC championship game, and it's like, well, we're going to leave Texas out. They went into Tuscaloosa and they beat Alabama. So it might be one of those things where at some point in November, that is the ace up the sleeve for Florida State, where it's like, hey, man, they beat Alabama, and Alabama's the SEC champion. So maybe at that point in time, it matters more. It matters more accurately than it should right now.
Yeah, I just think what the point of the question is, though, we're only 3 weeks removed from that game. That did not happen 3 months ago. That happened 3 weeks ago, that game. 4 weeks ago, I guess. And already the team that you beat by 2 touchdowns is already 10 spots ahead of you, even though you have the same record. Fair. It happens that quickly.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's like it is normal. People just assume this is how it's supposed to work. And it has been normalized. And it's idiotic. It's idiotic that anybody that watched the Alabama-Florida State game would rank Alabama ahead of Florida State in October right now. Now, if and when Florida State loses again and Alabama keeps winning, by all means. But as it stands right now, they have the same record. They actually played, and Florida State beat them kind of convincingly. So Alabama rushed for less than 100 yards. Florida State ran for over 200. It was a pretty convincing win. And yet here we are, Alabama already ranked ahead of Florida State by a lot. And now does it matter? No. You got to win your game. If you go 8-4, none of this matters. It's just that this is the reality of college. It's just another example of how these games really are viewed one way by Florida State fans and one way by the people that vote and decide these things. And it's infuriating. That's all. It's just infuriating. Again, it doesn't matter. Rankings don't matter right now in October. And if you lose on Saturday, who cares? But it's infuriating that 2 teams with the same record that played each other not that long ago, one team is ranked 10 spots ahead of the other one, even though they lost by 14 points. There's no rational explanation for that. Like Virginia's ranked behind Florida State. I get it. Virginia beat them in double overtime at home on kind of a drop pass. Florida State did not struggle with that. They outscored them 31-10 after the first 8 minutes of the game, and they gave them the ball at midfield on a crazy botched punt return. Like, there was nothing fluky about that win. Florida State was the better team that day,
yes.
Convincingly so.
Clearly,
but Alabama's better now, right? Because they're the SEC. Of course, they're better. They're Alabama.
Yeah.
If those 2 teams played on Saturday, Aslan, Alabama would beat them by 4 touchdowns.
Oh, stop it.
That's the groupthink, though, that permeates everybody that votes and most of the people in that committee, in my opinion. And that's the talking points that they get overloaded with. Alabama's a much better team than they were back then. Clearly, they're better than Florida State. They just had a bad day. But when Florida State loses at Virginia, well, that's a referendum on who Florida State is as a team. Not that they had a bad day. But SEC teams are afforded to have a bad day.
Well, we got to kind of wrap up here.
LSU's ranked ahead of Florida State. How? The road win at Clemson? Is that better than Florida State's win? How is Georgia ranked ahead of Florida State, Aslan?
How is Georgia? I mean, because they were ranked ahead of them before they lost.
But
it's
but
the
they have the
stupid way
same
the sport's
record.
always been. I know, but
they have the same record. You know why?
why did we jump ahead of Notre Dame in 1993 when we had the same record?
Well,
and they beat
hey,
us
quit
head-to-head?
bringing up old stuff, Aslan.
Yes.
Quit. Why you got to bring up old stuff? That's ridiculous. Who thinks like that? No, I was just going to say, like, Georgia lost at home to Alabama, though. It's Alabama in big bright letters. Florida State lost on the road.
The coaches poll is all. It'd be one thing if we were.
Well, they're idiots too.
They're
idiots too.
Yeah.
I'm not just blaming the media members.
Yeah.
They're idiots too. Florida State lost at Virginia, which is not a blue blood. They're anything but. It looks like a bad loss. No, they don't get any benefit of the doubt. It's not big bad Virginia.
But they
Georgia
vaulted them
lost
into
at
a
home
ranked
to
team,
Alabama.
though. Like Virginia became a ranked team because they beat.
So
Florida
then, how
State.
you lost in double overtime to a ranked team? The team that you lost to is now deemed good enough to be one of the top 25 teams in the country. You lost in double overtime on the road on a Friday night, and yet that win dropped you 10 spots.
And you're 6 spots better than them, and the team that beat you is 8 spots better than you. So
Ridiculous.
Make it all make sense. I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. But again, like I said, I think the difference is the way the games were won. Florida State controlled Alabama. Virginia kind of got a little bit lucky. Not a lot lucky. I'm not saying they were maybe lucky.
And Alabama got lucky against Georgia.
Right, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Big bad win against Georgia, so they vault up and they can lose another game, and that's another thing. They can absolutely lose another game, and they're going to go to the playoff. If they're 10-2, they're going to go to the playoff. If Florida State loses this weekend, almost no shot.
I only say that because I think that won't be their last loss. Like if they lose them, not because like Miami, like if you lost to Miami, you're bums. You're going to definitely lose again. But they still have like 8 more games. They got like 7 more games to go. It's hard to imagine they're going to go 7-0.
And they're on a 2-game losing streak, and they haven't proven they can win on the road. I will say this though, I think that I do too. I think if they lose to Miami, it could be an 8-4 season, which sucks when you start out 3-0.
Yeah.
Granted, but it's still not the end of the world. It's better than what we had to go through.
It's a Pop-Tart
but
bowl,
there is a world where they could lose this game on Saturday and still win out. And who knows, man? They would be in the conversation probably, maybe because of that win against Alabama. That they would be in the conversation. Where it's like, yeah, they're 10-2. They did lose to Virginia, who finished 8-4, and they lost them. But their other only loss is to Miami, who's a top 10 team. And they also beat Alabama, who's a top 10 team. Let's weigh that resume with this SEC 3-loss team. And maybe they get the benefit of the doubt and get in, even though they don't get to Charlotte. But I doubt it. And it's not going to matter because the Noles are going to go 11-1. They're not losing again, gang.
Yeah, all right,
they are not losing again.
I had a question about ACC standings. I'm not going to do it. Just two random things, actually. So I had this up yesterday, and I forgot to talk about it. Sammy Coates, 902 receiving yards in 2013. That's the most receiving yards by a receiver when Gus Malzahn is the head coach. Deuce is already at 346. So he's trending well.
Is that true? Wow.
Yeah, he's trending well.
But it's not the most that he's at as an offensive coordinator.
Right,
I know
because
in Tulsa, he had like
yes,
3
right.
1,000-yard guys in one season.
Power forward job, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Apologies.
But no, I wasn't saying you were, because you just said as a head coach, I thought.
Yes.
Which is right as a head coach.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really interesting. You would have thought he'd have a
1,000-yard
But
guy.
hey, what's the most that Norvell's ever had? Like Keon only had like 780 or something.
Right.
So, yeah, Deuce could be a 1,000-yard receiver, buddy. He could be a 1,300-yard receiver.
Also related to Deuce, I am going on the record. I am much more comfortable saying that he did not drop that ball than I am calling 2023 a 13-0 team. I'm weird.
Well, he did drop the ball.
I know.
The ball never hit the ground. You're saying that it was a completion?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it wasn't it should have been a completion. Yeah,
you're crazy. That team was 13-0.
They have that. By the way,
13-0.
behind the curtain, everybody in the actual auditorium, where I'm sure a student. I don't follow the students though. Clearly, I'm sure someone's put it on their Instagram or whatever. But the actual main auditorium, which is in Moore Center, that actually holds some classes, but we do our post-game press conferences when Florida State's at home. It has all their accolades on the walls, and however many times 18 time, whatever, how many times it won the ACC, and it says 2023 13-0 season, and it's got Mike holding up the ACC trophy. So,
amen.
And let's make this quick, although it's a long question. It is about scheduling. Hayden Walton, wake up, gentlemen. This is my first time appearing in the mailbag. Figured to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Hayden. I first got to FSU as a student in 2021, began listening to Wake Up after those first two games. Notre Dame and, yes, Jacksonville State.
Yikes. I can't even imagine what that post-Jacksonville State show was like.
I've been listening consistently since. You may also see me in the YouTube comments sometimes where my handle is also just my name. Aslan's mentioned some comments I've left before about things like enjoying long episodes. Well, two in a row for you there, big dog.
We've loaded you down, Hayden. You're welcome,
hit the
buddy.
Thumbs up. Anyway, my question for the week, is there a comparable scheduling dynamic from the past as difficult as the one we just faced last week? And do you agree it was a very difficult one? As a fan over the last 5 years, I don't think there was a more difficult schedule dynamic in that time. Here's a list of what I see that made it difficult. Short week, night game, on the road, no competitive opponents in the previous month. Virginia unranked. Rival the next week. Rival coming off of a bye to play you. Rival going into a bye after they play you. Rival number 2 in the country. I just can't be too mad at a loss with all that working against us. Still think this team will play well against Miami, and I'm very excited for the game. Thanks for everything everyone does at Warchant. Literally, every person on the staff is awesome.
There you go.
I think we just go on off on that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot that was going to be a tough game. Listen, Tony White said it was going to be a tough game because they were going up against a good offense. I think you and I, Corey, thought that it would be a tough game, although we predicted Florida State was going to win that because it was going to be on the road. We would see if this would be the true, probably first bit of adversity they would taste. Let's see how they respond to it. They responded great. They fell into a 14-0 hole, roared back, fell a play or two short, not dejected, not discouraged. And yeah, just the Friday night, short night, road game. Yeah, these things, not having a tomato cans the last 3 weeks. Yeah, not great. That's a recipe as a team that is above average, losing to a team that's, probably average.
Or maybe Florida State's good and Virginia's above average. Like, I do think Florida State is the better team, but it's not worlds better. And that's kind of the nature of college football right now. And it's also the nature of where Florida State is right now. I wanted to mention this before we go out, because I'll mention it on headlines later today, is what I'm encouraged by and buoyed by so far this season, and even from that game, maybe even more so than some of the stuff in 2023, is you see a path to a good future. No matter how this season goes, no matter how this Saturday night goes. You see, I know Boggs didn't play, but Boggs, I think, is going to be a player, man. We know Cromwell is going to be a player. We don't know if Castellanos is going to be back next year. But, man, you've got some guys on this team that probably should stay here. And then you've got the Desir brothers. You've got Kevin Wynn, who's supposed to be as good or better than them. You've got Wayne McCoy. You've got kind of skill guys that should be here at least another year. And you've got freshman guys that are going to play and I think are going to be good. And so when I think about this program, I kind of in a better place now than I was in 2023. I know it's easy for me to say that now because we all lived through 2024. But I kept saying on headlines when Jeff would talk about, well, they're not going to have enough NIL money to really go out and get guys. And I'm like, then what's their team going to be? Because none of these guys that are making all these plays in this 2023 football season that's so much fun are going to be here next year. So what's their plan? I do think they've loaded up this roster with so much better underclassmen that this season, even if it doesn't end in any sort of championship or postseason fun, I think it could legitimately be a building block and not a one-off. Now, you're going to have to get some guys to come back. But don't you just kind of feel more excited about the direction of the program? Because there are a lot of underclassmen, at least juniors and underclassmen, that are contributing.
Yeah, I guess so long as Gus sticks around, because that was a big sticking
Gus
point.
And Tony. I want Tony to stick around too, because I do think the way he evaluates guys is good. Like they got guys that, like, I don't know if he signed off on the Desir brothers or not, but I know they're being coached pretty well. Yeah. And I think that what he saw in Jabril Rawls is something. What he saw in Earl Little. Come on, man. The last coaching staff that was here did not play that guy. He's going to maybe lead the ACC in tackles if he stays healthy. He is a difference maker that could not get on the field, unbelievably. So what I like about this defensive staff is they see what these guys are. They're really good at evaluating. We'll see about developing, but they seem to be pretty good at that. But evaluating who can actually play, I feel like both sides of the ball are very good. And I trust them with this next recruiting cycle and this next portal cycle to bring in guys that can play. and not just take, shots in the dark. Like so I know this wasn't even an answer to Hayden's question, but I just was thinking about that. Like, man, win or lose, that Virginia game, you saw guys that hadn't done much in their college careers making real plays, making big-time plays. And that's good to see, maybe, it is good to see moving forward. And I am much more buoyed by what this program will be next year, because I'm convinced if they keep this coaching staff intact for at least one more year, that they're going to load this roster with some real serious players, and I trust what they're going to do in the portal.
All right, save it for headlines. Save it for headlines.
Sorry, guy. What was his actual question? Just how awesome we are?
In the last 5 years, I can't remember scheduling being that, I guess, tricky, but over the course of our lifetime, I'm sure they had, what was it, 91? They played Miami, went wide right, and then had to go into the swamp the next week.
Yeah, they got a bye. Their bye week was between the 11th and 12th game of the season, or 10th and 11th game of the season, which is insane. Yeah. But that team was good enough that they should have won both those games. But what are you going to do? It was. Look, it's not difficult in that Kent State and East Texas A&M were difficult. Nobody feels sorry for Florida State that they got 2 layup wins. It's just that was a tough ask. It's a tough ask to go from Alabama to basically 4 weeks off, and then you're playing Virginia, a capable Virginia team.
On a short week with Miami looming.
On a short week. But I do think that thing prepared you for Miami.
Yes. Yep.
So, again, if you're going to be 4-1 after 5 games, you'd rather the one be at Virginia than losses at home to Miami or Alabama. So if everything is still out there, and maybe losing to Virginia really was the best thing that could happen for this team on Saturday night when they play Miami.
All right.
Or maybe they get rolled. Who knows? Sports is fun, everyone. We have a good time.
Corey Clark always with well, you never know. Actually, who knows?
Who can say?
Headlines coming up 1 to 3 o'clock with Corey Clark, Jeff Cameron, and Irish O'Fell. We'll speak to an assistant coach later today and players. That'll be up on warchant.com and our YouTube page as well, so go check that out. We're going to have folks from Kane Sport later on in the week. Live show probably coming your way Thursday, boys and girls. But we'll do over-unders probably before the Thursday show. Lots going on at warchant.com. Huge game. We're all dialed into it. Jeff Cameron Show's dialed into it too. But again, Seminole headlines today. Check that out. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant. Presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. warchantbogo, your promo code.